Hello, and welcome to this presentation on climate change, hope, and action that can be taken in Loudoun County. This presentation is given to residents of the Lansdowne Woods Center and also to other resident senior living centers in Loudoun and Fairfax County. As I begin, my name is Eric Goplerud. I'm the chair of the Faith Alliance for Climate Solutions, an interfaith group that works locally to implement and advocate for changes in local policies and practices to arrest climate change. The presentation that I'm going to be giving is one that was given back in February to the senior living centers. I will put up the presentation now. As I said, I am the chair of the Faith Alliance for Climate Solutions. We work locally to create community solutions to climate justice challenges. There are 6 key facts about climate change that are really important and that we are emphasizing without debate: that it's real, it's us that are causing it, experts agree, lobbyists for the oil and gas and extraction industry deny it. Climate change is bad, but there is hope. And this comes from really Professor Edward Maybach of the Center for Climate Change Communications at George Mason. And he says that there are 12 simple words for effectively communicating on climate change. Simple, clear messages repeated often by a variety of your trusted voices. A simple, clear message repeated often by a variety of your trusted voices. Now, there's really been a growing separation between what we hope and what we worry about for climate change. As you can see, there are an increasing majority of Americans who say that they are very or somewhat worried about global warming. But the proportion who are hopeful that we can act to prevent the worst of global warming has actually gone down. And this has real consequences. If you take a look here, those folks who are hopeful are much more active to meet with a local elected official, to donate to an organization working on global warming, to volunteer for an organization like FACTS working on global warming, to contact a government official, to join a campaign to discuss greenhouse gases and global warming with friends and family. Now, there's greater support and a smaller separation when you look at what they feel would be good government actions, requiring utilities to use more renewables, support setting strict carbon dioxide limits on coal power plants. They support regulating carbon dioxide as a pollutant and support funding for research on renewable energy. Take a look there. So personal actions and what we hope, what we'd like government to do. But climate change is real. It's now indisputable that we are a force in geological proportions, so much that millions of years from now, it will be possible to find what we have been producing over the last 100 years as a layer, a geological layer. We face dilemmas right now that are unavoidable, and they grow more critical with every passing year. And it's us. It's now indisputable, but that we are the ones that are making this change, and each of us is responsible for taking steps to address the consequences of our choices. It's not just us feeling guilty. Today it's the voices of the children who call out to us. They are challenging our cowardice and our apathy as they consider what the legacy will be of emptiness, poverty, violence. But even more, a worse fate awaits our grandchildren. We leave them a world that our parents would not recognize, bereft of much of the beauty, complexity, and richness that we have squandered. Our actions personally, as societies, as throughout the world, are poised to break the bond between grandparents and grandchildren. We will not recognize the world in which we condemn them to live. And they will be strangers to the beauty, to the butterflies, to the flowers, and the bounty of the world that our parents left to us. That's where the Faith Alliance for Climate Solutions comes. The teaching and traditions of world religions share common principles about our ethical relationship towards the Earth's environment. These include the natural world has value in itself and does not exist solely to serve human needs. There are legitimate and illegitimate uses of nature. Greed and destructiveness are condemned by all religions. Restraint and protection of creation, the web of life, are commended. And there's an agreement that human beings are obliged to live in harmony with the natural world. So, what's the local Loudoun context for all of this? It's getting hotter, and there are parts of Loudoun County that are increasing the number of extreme heat days. In fact, in the Washington, D.C. area since 1970, there are 7 days more of days above 95 degrees every year. Now, the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments committed to a reduction of greenhouse gases by 80% by 2050. This graph shows that after a decrease from 2005 to 2010, as a region, our area has actually leveled off, and we have not been reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. And if you take a look, by 2030, when the goal was to reduce greenhouse gases by 50%, we're going to have to make really drastic changes. Now, what about Loudoun County? If you take a look at Loudoun County, greenhouse gas emissions have actually increased and nearly increased by 50%. This slide and the ones following come from an October 8th, 2020 workshop convened by Loudoun County Chairwoman Phyllis Randall and Ashburn Supervisor Mike Turner to discuss what the immediate, midterm, and long-term actions are available to Loudoun County. Take a look. The place of the greatest increases are in commercial energy. You can see here in this, the built environment in Loudoun County has increased, nearly doubled. Transportation has actually declined. Population has increased by 50%. Housing units are up 39%. The labor force has increased. And gross domestic product has doubled. Greenhouse gas emissions per capita have increased, that means per person, to almost 16 tons per person. Now, the GDP has decreased. What accounts for that? Well, of course, there's more building. There's some renewable energy. Transportation EV adoption is small. And land use has increased. And there are goals of reduction of waste. Where does the big energy increase come from? No surprise. Loudoun is the world's largest data center market, home of 4.7 million square feet of space of servers. They currently consume 15,000 megawatts of power, twice the amount of the Panda Stonewall power plant. And that's projected by 2030 that these data centers will need the equivalent of 6 new power plants the size of the Panda Stonewall. The Panda Stonewall plant, about 5 miles away from Lansdowne Woods, produces 778 megawatts of power. It emits 1.5 million metric tons of CO2 every year. It is projected to, it is required, Dominion Electric is required by 2045 to eliminate all greenhouse gases coming from electric emissions. Also, about 11 miles from Lansdowne is the Dulles Airport, which emits 800,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide every year. If you take a look at all of that space, lots of room for solar. None right now. The Loudoun County landfill, about 10 miles away from Lansdowne Woods, emits 53,000 metric tons of CO2, and that comes from methane. Now, what we throw out has an impact. If we consume differently, it will reduce the amount that goes into the landfill and reduce the greenhouse gases that are emitted. Here's an interesting picture of the night sky in Virginia. Note that Loudoun County is no longer a dark sky county, and that reducing its light pollution by reducing the a number of street lights and outdoor lights that are replacing them with LEDs would dramatically change the night skies in Loudoun. Since that October meeting, Loudoun has been doing some very, very positive things. They've established a permanent Citizens Environmental Commission and are looking for members. So if you would consider becoming a member, reach out to the county. They've expanded projects eligible for CPACE. CPACE is a low-cost county-backed energy loans for energy efficiency and renewable energy. They're investigating power purchase agreements for renewable energy that we put on county buildings and schools. They're looking at their county vehicle fleet to see how much of it could be converted to electric, hybrid, or natural gas. They've updated the county energy strategy, last done in 2009, and allocated money. They put real money behind that. And they're exploring community choice aggregation, which is an option for the data centers and others to jointly purchase green power at wholesale prices. A real lead on this is your supervisor, Mark Turner, who is from the Ashburn district and actually lives in Lansdowne Woods. What about Virginia, the actions that our legislature has taken so far? In 2020, there were big changes in renewables and a phase-out requirement of fossil fuel energy. In 2021, big successes have been around transportation and a little bit on other areas. What's passed so far, or what is passed? Clean cars, electric vehicle rebates, and a clean car standard. Clean car standard is the percentage of sales should be electric vehicles starting in 2025. It's pegged and looks to California, which does this already. Fossil fuels, they have ended the coal tax subsidies that will sunset in 2022. Around building energy efficiency, they've required the Department of Housing and Community Development to consider energy efficiency. The home builders won on this one and weakened the bill considerably. Around climate, they have required a greenhouse gas inventory taken every year. and have created a carbon sequestration task force. And notably, they have banned styrofoam clamshell, those takeout styrofoam boxes that restaurants give you. They will be banned. Your representatives have been real leads on these environmental actions. Senator Jennifer Boysko and Delegate David Reed have been really at the forefront and need to be thanked for their support and encouraged to do more. Oh no, what happened? Let's go back. Biden's actions have been really positive so far. I'm speaking now March 11th, 2021. He's created really the A-team for climate change with John Kerry and Jenna McCarthy, respectively doing international and national climate change. On the first day of his administration, he rejoined the Paris Agreement, revoked the permit for the Keystone XL pipeline, and stopped federal leasing on in the Arctic refuge. On January 27th, a climate day, he issued 2 executive orders. These include phasing out of hydrofluorocarbons, which are very powerful greenhouse gases, and replacing them with less climate damaging refrigerants. He's set up some international financing, $1 billion to connect Africa programs. There was a moratorium on oil and gas leases on public lands and waters, stopping fossil fuel subsidies, and around environmental justice as a theme throughout climate action. He has required that be a cornerstone. And the plan is to convene world leaders on a climate summit on Earth Day, April 22nd. He set up an innovation working group, and you could see the priorities, including a net zero carbon buildings, energy storage at 1/10 the cost of today, a plan for and operate a grid powered by zero carbon power plants, low-cost carbon-based on-road vehicles and transit systems. These are all stretch goals which the Innovation Working Group has set as priorities. Also, what should be coming now in the near future is the $2 trillion green infrastructure plan. This comes after the $1.9 billion COVID relief package, which was just passed. In every one of these areas, the emphasis is on job creation and reducing greenhouse gases around the infrastructure, changing the auto industry, improving transit in the power sector, especially around buildings, upgrading buildings, energy efficiency, housing, building energy efficient homes, creating innovation here in the United States, changing the way that we farm, and around, as I mentioned, environmental justice as a key throughout all of these areas. But politicians follow their constituents. Very rarely do they lead if the constituents are not there. So who will be the leaders in leading the politicians? This is where the Faith Alliance for Climate Solutions, or FACS, comes in. Our mission is to unite people of faith to develop local solutions to climate change. Our priorities, which are at our website, faithforclimate.org/campaigns, address all of these areas, ranging from decreasing the energy burden for low-income housing, reducing and protecting our environment, transitioning to clean and equitable transportation and electric vehicles, attaining net zero schools, creating a strong climate resilience plan, and establishing a green bank. You can see them in greater details at our website here, faithforclimate.org. We also do a lot of education, including we now have a series called Climate Conversation Sundays, in which we focus on an issue of importance, drawing connections between climate change and important issues that affect people. And you certainly are all invited. On March 21st, we will have a public health and climate discussion. On the 18th, youth climate activists will describe and engage a multi-generational climate action. And May 16th, we'll focus on biodiversity. We also do a variety of hands-on actions that individuals can take. On the weekend before Earth Day, on April, I think it's 18th and 19th, we'll be doing neighborhood park and stream cleanups where we collect the plastic, the bottles, the cans that people have thrown into the woods and clean them up. This is something certainly that you could do as well. We also have a recycling of single-use plastic bags. Best would be to ban them, but since we haven't yet gotten a ban, what we've done is partner with the company Trex, which produces those recycled plastic plankings. And we have collected over 1,200 pounds of bags. That's equal to about 100,000 single-use plastic bags, and recycled them. And Trex, for every 500 pounds of recycled bags, gives the community organization a Trex-made bench. And we have given that bench to a Title I school and a second one to a senior center. And this plastic recycling could also be done at Lansdowne Woods. And our guide is at this location, which will be on the website and materials that you can download. We're also focusing on waste management, reducing the amount of food and organics that are thrown into the trash and recycling them, or to turn them into compost and better dirt that can then feed people. Another example is, and our success has been, that Fairfax County now bans the use of plastic bags for collecting yard waste. Now we will be using, as of March 1st, allowing only paper bags or hard plastic containers to recycle and compost yard waste. It's our community. Waste is a crisis, and so it's up to you. Use your voice, your vote, your choices. You can speak truth to power, and need to do that like your world depends on it, because it's us. We're called, we, the older generation, to be warriors for sustainability and the well-being of our world. As Thich Nhat Hanh has said, we rely on each other. Our children are relying on us in order for them to have a future. Thank you. Please join the Faith Alliance in taking local action for climate change to impact our world at the local level. Thank you.